Hey, this is the Daily Overpass. My name is Eric and I make apps. Now today I want to talk about how sometimes I could talk a client out of working with me. Okay, so this morning I get a phone call from somebody saying, hey, we just found your website, we've been watching some of your videos, our company needs an app, can you help us? And so I said, yeah, of course, absolutely, that's what we do. We're app developers, I would love to be able to help you. So we have a little conversation and we start talking about what they need. And basically what he's saying is they have a bunch of content that they want to make into a course so that they can have an app so people could take the course by paying a subscription. So they've got videos, they've got text, and they want to have something where people pay a subscription and they can get access to all that content. And as I'm listening to this, the first question that comes into my mind is, are you sure you want this to be an app and not a website? Because this sounds like it would be better as a website because I don't see how an app would really add anything to this. And he goes, yeah, I suppose you're right. Maybe it should be a website. And I said, have you looked at platforms like Kajabi and Teachable and the other online education platforms where you can build your own course and people can subscribe to it? And they said, no. I said, you might want to look into that because it might be better than building a custom solution where you have to spend all this money to build something custom when there's already something out of the box that will help you. And he said, okay, that sounds really good. That sounds fantastic. And he says, how can you help us do that? And I said, I can't. I'm an app developer. Eric Wroolie, Master Salesman. Yes, that's right. This is why Overpass is the thriving company it is, because this is how I am as a salesman, right? Once people start telling me about their technical solutions, if I can find something better, a lot of the times I can't keep my mouth shut and I suggest it. I do this all the time where people will call up and they'll be adamant about the fact that they need an app. And as I start listening to it, I'm thinking, I think this would be better as a website or better as something else, and then I'll make those recommendations. Or I might even say, you might want to test this out with an app builder software like AppyPie or Business Apps or things like I've told people that before too, and then they would go off and try that. Right, which might not be a very good solution as a small business. When people come to you with work to do, you don't want to talk them out of the work to do. But sometimes I do. Now sometimes this has paid off for me. I have had people come back to me and say, hey, I don't know if you remember, I spoke to you last year, you were so honest with us, now we actually do have something that we think would be an app, can you help us do that? Right, and so it has actually worked out, but it's something that I just can't do. I can't sell somebody something they don't need if I think there's a better solution out there, right? I always think if my car was making a noise and I convinced myself that it was the muffler, I need a new muffler, or a silencer. I think it's called something different in England. But if I need a new muffler and I took it to the mechanic and I said, I need a new muffler because it's making this noise. Can you help me? The mechanic could either replace the muffler based on whatever I told him, or he could say, that noise doesn't sound like it's coming from the muffler. I think you have a dead cat in your engine, or whatever, something. And he just pulls it out and says, I think that will solve your problem. If you ever have a real mechanical problem, come back, right? That's what I would expect, even though I go in there convinced that I need to spend all this money on a solution, right? So every so often it has come back to me. At least I have a clear conscience when I go to bed at night. But sometimes I think, despite all of the sales books I've read, and I've read so many, one of these days I got to show you guys my bookshelf here in the office and the one at home where I've read so many books on sales. But when it comes to things like that, being a trusted advisor, I think it's better when someone calls you up, because a lot of times they will come back to you with more stuff. Even if they don't, it's like if it were you, I always put myself in a situation I would hate if I started building a project, and as soon as I started building it, or I was halfway through it, or if I was completed with it, I could find an off-the-shelf solution that would do the exact same thing. So anyway, I just thought I would share that with you this morning. It's not the first time this kind of stuff happened, and sometimes I think, maybe I should just take this kind of work, but I can't. With clean conscience, I can't do it. And I'd love to be a trusted advisor when people call up, and let me know what I would like to know. Anybody else out there who's running an app agency or you're doing work for clients, have you ever had that kind of situation where someone has come to you and they were convinced that they needed something, they convinced they needed an app, or they needed one technology, and you were just looking at it thinking, I don't think they need this, even though it means less work for me. I have to tell them. I have to let them know what's out there, which I just think is probably good business. But, you know, anyway, that is it for today. I'll talk to you guys again tomorrow.